Part 51. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 501. Chapter 501. They are kissing. Stefan and Chu Sensio were waiting impatiently in the lobby, especially Stefan, who had already started running away. Constantly dangling in front of Chu Sensio was playing the game carelessly, and uttered a few foul words from time to time. Holy crap, is this guy Ziyajun so good at playing games? Chu Sensio said angrily. Jun Chennai is in first place again today, and Chu Sensio is determined to take the first place from him. So, he chose to challenge Jun Chennai. However, Jun Chennai used his strength to explain a truth to him. He, Jun Chennai, is not just arrogant, he is really strong. He's actually dead. Chu Sensio resisted the urge to smash his cell phone, his handsome face turned red with anger. Jun Chennai sent him a very proud message, your dad will always be your dad. MD, this guy is really arrogant, isn't he just lucky? Come again if you have the ability. However, just as Chu Sensio was about to start another round, Stefan snatched his phone away and stared at him with anger on his face. Chu Sensio was stared at by Stefan with a confused look on his face, and said angrily, boy, what are you doing? I still want to take first place, give me back the phone. Stefan held it in his arms and refused to give it to him, his little face turned red from suppressing it. Then, Stefan kept pointing in the direction Xia Ying left before, but Chu Sensio still didn't understand what he meant. Stefan became anxious, then took Chu Sensio's arm and pulled him in that direction. Chu Sensio then understood what Stefan meant, stopped, and said, are you looking for Xia Ying? Stefan nodded quickly, his eyes full of expectation. Cousin Xia Ying is with you Lingfeng. Stephen's face darkened immediately, and he almost stepped forward to bite him. Chu Sensio then said, the two of them are in love, why are you, a child, going there? Stefan was stunned for a moment, then tilted his head and thought for a moment, then raised his two thumbs and pressed their fingertips together, staring at Chu Sensio with doubt. Chu Sensio understood and smiled, yes, they are kissing. Don't go over and disturb them. When Stephen heard this, his handsome face was immediately covered with a layer of gloom, and his usually bright and clear eyes became dim at this moment. Stephen turned his face and ignored Chu Sensio, insisting on going to find Xia Ying. Xia Ying told him that she would come over soon, but she hasn't come yet. Stefan felt like he had been cheated and was in a very uncomfortable mood. At this time, Xia Ying was preparing to leave the hot spring pool. Xia Ying was holding her clothes and preparing to change. When Yu Lingfeng heard the noise, he opened the curtain, glanced at Xia Ying, and asked, are you ready? Yes, Xia Ying nodded, Stefan is still waiting for me. He will get anxious if he waits for a long time. Yu Lingfeng obviously didn't want to hear this answer. Well, no matter how generous he was, Xia Ying was talking about Stefan now, and she had to keep him in mind even when she came to relax in a hot spring. Yu Lingfeng felt that he was angry. Xia Ying finished changing her clothes, and when she came out, Yu Lingfeng was still leaning on the sofa, still wearing a bathrobe, and showed no intention of going out. Xia Ying approached Yu Lingfeng, frowned, and said, Yu Lingfeng, why haven't you changed your clothes yet, city? Before Xia Ying could finish her words, Yu Lingfeng grabbed her wrist. The next second, Xia Ying fell into Yu Lingfeng's arms, unable to move. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 502. Chapter 502. Shocking picture. Yu Lingfeng's handsome face was magnified in front of Xia Ying, and Xia Ying could clearly see Yu Lingfeng's delicate and handsome eyebrows, as well as her eyes that were as bright as stars but unpredictable. Xia Ying's eyes met Yu Lingfeng's. Xia Ying was about to say something, but before she could say anything, Yu Lingfeng's possessive and aggressive kiss followed. Xia Ying opened her eyes wide and looked at Yu Lingfeng in front of her, feeling a little confused for a moment. At this moment, there was an impatient knock on the door, and Xia Ying was dazed for a moment. It must have been Stefan coming over. Xia Ying pushed Yu Lingfeng's chest with her hands, trying to push him away. Before Xia Ying could finish her words, she was already blocked by Yu Lingfeng's lips. After kissing for a long time, Yu Lingfeng let go of her and said word by word, "When you are with me, you are not allowed to mention other men's names." Xia Ying frowned. Is Yu Lingfeng jealous of Stefan? Xia Ying didn't have time to think deeply, but bit her lip and said, "Yu Lingfeng, Stefan is outside." Xia Ying's next words were once again blocked by Yu Lingfeng's sudden lips. This was the first time that Yu Lingfeng kissed her so domineeringly, and Xia Ying was a little uncomfortable with it. Especially thinking about Stefan waiting for her over there, just a door away. What Xia Ying didn't notice was that Yu Lingfeng secretly picked up the remote control behind him and opened the door. The door was opened, and what caught Stefan's eyes was Xia Ying in Yu Lingfeng's arms. Yu Lingfeng leaned over and kissed her lingeringly. Stefan's pupils dilated instantly. He was completely unprepared to accept the visual impact in front of him. At this time, Chu Shenxiu also happened to rush over. Seeing the strange look in front of him, he turned sideways and glanced at Stefan with a ghostly expression. He swallowed silently and said, "Well, as I told you, they were kissing." When Stephen heard this, he turned around and glared at Chu Shenxiu, then his eyes turned red. He pushed Chu Shenxiu away and ran away. Chu Shenxiu forced himself not to look at the shocking scene in front of him, and by the way, silently closed the door for Xia Ying and Yu Lingfeng. His little heart, he knows that nothing good will happen, why must he see it? Why? After kissing for a long time, Yu Lingfeng reluctantly let go of Xia Ying. However, just when Xia Ying thought she had been let go, Yu Lingfeng suddenly leaned over again and left a punitive bullet on Xia Ying's collarbone. Bright red strawberry print. Xia Ying blushed and pushed Yu Lingfeng away and said, "Yu Lingfeng, what are you doing?" Yu Lingfeng said calmly, "I will leave my mark to remind those who want to covet you." Xia Ying was helpless after hearing this. There are so many people coveting me, and Yu Lingfeng, didn't we agree not to be jealous of Stefan? Yu Lingfeng's series of performances just now showed that he was obviously jealous. Yu Lingfeng lowered his eyes slightly, and did not deny anything. He just said, "He is a man, and you have been spending time with him day and night recently. It is easy for him to develop feelings for you. But I think he feels like a younger brother towards an older sister." Yu Lingfeng stood up, straightened his clothes, and prepared to change. Xia Ying kept looking at his back, waiting for Yu Lingfeng's next answer. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 503. Chapter 503 Intimacy without closing the door. Yu Lingfeng just turned slightly sideways and looked at Xia Ying. It's best like this, otherwise he will only ask for trouble. Yu Lingfeng finished speaking and walked towards the changing room. Xia Ying sat on the sofa, took out her mobile phone, turned on the camera function, and looked at the strawberries on her neck. It's really embarrassing. Yu Lingfeng is really too domineering. If someone saw this, how could she see anyone? After Yu Lingfeng changed her clothes, she looked at Xia Ying, who was looking at the ambiguous marks on her neck. Yu Lingfeng walked towards her calmly and calmly. "Let's go." Xia Ying raised her head, looked at Yu Lingfeng with a sullen face, and said, "Yu Lingfeng, this is the last time, you are not allowed to do this again." Xia Ying pointed to the mark on her neck and said to Yu Lingfeng. Yu Lingfeng's face was calm and he said slowly, "Let's see how you perform." You. Xia Ying was speechless for a moment. After Xia Ying and Yu Lingfeng came to the living room, Chu Shenxiu was the only one there. Xia Ying asked Chu Shenxiu in confusion, "Where's Stefan? Didn't I tell you to watch him carefully?" Chu Shenxiu did not answer, but glanced at Yu Lingfeng behind Xia Ying with a dark face, and then said, "The good things you have done have hurt the young heart of this child." In a fit of anger, he asked someone to come and take him back. Xia Ying looked confused. "What's wrong with me? When did she hurt Stefan's young heart?" Why couldn't she understand what Chu Shenxiu meant? Xia Ying suddenly thought of something, turned to look at Yu Lingfeng, and said solemnly, "Yu Lingfeng, please tell me the truth. What are you telling me? You guys are making out without closing the door. The kid has been waiting for you for so long." He was so sad when he saw it. His eyes were red and he looked like he was being bullied. Chu Shenxiu interjected from the side. Xia Ying was stunned and didn't close the door. How could she remember that Yu Lingfeng had locked the door? And Stefan had been knocking on the door at that time and didn't even go in? Yu Lingfeng pursed her lips and said honestly, "I did it on purpose." When Xia Ying heard this, she glared at him and said, "He is still a child." "That's just what you think," Yu Lingfeng said coldly. "Xia Ying is completely obsessed with the authorities, and it has been so obvious that Stefan likes her." At first, Yu Lingfeng thought it was just pure dependence, but as time went by, Yu Lingfeng found that it was not that simple. It's not that he's bored, he's just doing a simple experiment. If it was just dependence, Stefan would never react like this. Subconsciously, he already likes Xia Ying. For Xia Ying, she also had an indescribable possessiveness. That's why he reacted so violently when he saw Xia Ying being kissed by him just now. He even got red-rimmed eyes from anger and ran home. Although Yu Lingfeng had already guessed the results of this experiment, he was still a little unhappy. Xia Ying regards him as a younger brother, so she takes care of him in every possible way. However, Yu Lingfeng is afraid that Stefan will misunderstand this feeling and classify it into the wrong category. Xia Ying and the others returned home and heard from the servant that Stefan locked himself in the room as soon as he came home. "And when I came back, my eyes were red." Xia Ying walked to Stefan's door and kept knocking, hoping that Stefan would open the door. However, Xia Ying knocked on the door for a long time, but Stefan in the room did not make any move. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 504. Chapter 504. The top configuration of the bad guy. Yu Lingfeng walked up to Xia Ying and said, "I will talk to him." Xia Ying raised her head and looked at Yu Lingfeng angrily. "It's all your fault. You did a good thing." Yu Lingfeng calmed down and explained patiently, "If he doesn't like you, why does he care about this?" This question actually stopped Xia Ying. "Maybe, he just feels that I have been robbed." Xia Ying lowered her eyes and whispered, "Stefan is now very dependent on him. From the first time he spoke to her to now, Stefan wants to follow her wherever she goes." Xia Ying could feel that Stefan valued him very much. Perhaps in Stefan's pure heart, he always hoped that Xia Ying belonged to him alone. In this way, Xia Ying can stay with him forever. He may not be what Yu Lingfeng thinks. After all, Stefan is not an ordinary child. No one can guess his thinking pattern. "Don't worry, I will find a time to explain this matter to him clearly," Yu Lingfeng said again. Xia Ying lowered her eyes and said nothing. Yu Lingfeng held Xia Ying's hanging hand and said to her, "Actually, I'm not that stingy. I won't destroy the beautiful relationship between you. Leave it to me, trust me." Although Xia Ying was still angry with Yu Lingfeng a second ago, Yu Lingfeng seemed to have magical powers. With a simple sentence of "leave it to me, trust me," Xia Ying was convinced by him. She has always believed in Yu Lingfeng. No matter when, even if she couldn't understand what Yu Lingfeng did for a moment, she knew that Yu Lingfeng would definitely be right. Xia Ying raised her head, met Yu Lingfeng's sincere eyes, and nodded, yes. Yu Lingfeng touched Xia Ying's head and said, go and rest. Xia Ying nodded, then turned and left. Yu Lingfeng was stunned on the spot. The door was locked. But he still asked for the key from the servant, opened it and walked into Stefan's room. Stephen was currently curled up on the sofa, feeling sad alone, when he saw Yu Lingfeng coming over. Stefan glared at him first, and then threw a pillow at Yu Lingfeng. Bad guy. Stephen's eyes turned red with anger and he stared at Yu Lingfeng and said. Yu Lingfeng frowned. It was the first time that Stefan spoke to him. Did he actually call him a bad guy? In Stefan's world, those who bully Xia Ying and those who compete with him for Xia Ying are all bad people. Yu Lingfeng is the top configuration of the bad guys in Stefan's world. Yu Lingfeng calmed down and thought about how to talk to Stefan about this matter. At least, first remove his label of bad guy in Stefan's mind. Yu Lingfeng stayed in Stefan's room for a long time. Xia Ying kept sitting uneasily on the sofa in the living room. She didn't know if Stefan was persuaded by Yu Lingfeng. Or are you still angry and thinking that Xia Ying is going to abandon him? The minds of people like them are relatively sensitive and complex, and they can easily act in extreme ways when exposed to a little stimulation. Xia Ying is very afraid that Stefan will do something bad because of this, and the more she thinks about it, Xia Ying's heart became increasingly restless. Chu Shenxiu seemed very calm and kept playing his game next to Xia Ying. Holy shit, are you a pig? Did you just charge blindly when I asked you to beat me? Isn't this giving away someone's head? What a pig teammate, it really affects my performance. I don't want to play anymore. This kind of game should be equipped with an IQ test software. People with low IQs should not be let in to deceive teammates. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 505. Chapter 505. He doesn't want her to leave. Xia Ying was worried on the side, but Chu Shenxiu was on the side, making noisy noises and buzzing non-stop. Xia Ying was annoyed by his noise and turned to look at him angrily. Big turtle dove, haven't you seen that I'm very upset now? Chu Shenxiu then turned his attention from the phone to Xia Ying. As expected, Xia Ying's face did not look good. It's okay. Didn't that old goblin Yu Lingfeng go in? There are no monsters that he can't defeat, so don't worry. After Chu Shenxiu finished speaking, he lowered his head and focused on his game. Xia Ying frowned. What kind of metaphor is Chu Shenxiu talking about? At this time, Yu Lingfeng and Stefan walked out of the living room. Xia Ying stood up quickly, looked at Stefan, and then at Yu Lingfeng. Yu Lingfeng nodded slightly, hinting to Xia Ying that he had taken care of everything. Xia Ying was slightly shocked. Yu Lingfeng was really powerful. At this time, Stefan walked up to Xia Ying. Xia Ying pursed her lower lip nervously and looked into Stefan's clear eyes. Hungry. Stefan stared at Xia Ying with watery eyes, opened his mouth and said this word. After hearing this, Xia Ying showed a big smile and said, I'll make you something to eat right away. Stefan smiled lightly. Xia Ying turned around and went to the kitchen. Chu Shenxiu put down his cell phone, looked at Yu Lingfeng, and asked him in Chinese, how did you do it? Yu Lingfeng curled his lips and said, it's not difficult. Chu Shenxiu's face darkened. Okay, he is Yu Lingfeng, he is strong, there is no reason. When Stefan just lost control of his emotions, Chu Shenxiu wouldn't listen to anything he said to him. I guess he was thinking, this person is really annoying. Yu Lingfeng didn't say much. He just explained his relationship with Xia Ying to Stefan. And, even if Xia Ying is with him, Xia Ying will always be his senior sister, she will always be there when he needs her, and she will never leave him behind. Stefan half understood, and he automatically ignored the part where Yu Lingfeng explained his relationship with Xia Ying, only remembering that Xia Ying would never abandon him. So, his mood gradually improved. The scene when the puppy left him was something he never wanted to experience again. Therefore, he couldn't accept Xia Ying's sudden disappearance from his life. It was rare for him to meet such a person who understood him and treated him well. He didn't want her to leave. After experiencing Yu Lingfeng's enlightenment, Stefan returned to his normal mood. He didn't keep pestering Xia Ying like before. Instead, he would sometimes actively push Xia Ying to Yu Lingfeng, leaving the two of them alone. Stefan could see that Xia Ying liked being with Yu Lingfeng very much. At least Xia Ying and Yu Lingfeng laughed happily together. Stefan wanted Xia Ying to laugh, so even if he had to give up Xia Ying to Yu Lingfeng, it doesn't matter to him if the wind blows for a while. It's just that in his mind, he doesn't have much understanding of the relationship between Yu Lingfeng and the boyfriend and girlfriend he mentioned. Does it mean that Xia Ying likes to be with Yu Lingfeng, so they are boyfriend and girlfriend? Then he likes to be with Xia Ying. Are they also boyfriend and girlfriend? Time always flies by quickly. After their time with Stefan was over, Xia Ying and the others were ready to return to China. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 506. Chapter 506. A child over 1.8 meters tall. Xia Ying told Stefan that she would come back to him after the college entrance examination. Stefan nodded. He knew that Xia Ying was preparing for a difficult exam, and that exam was very important to Xia Ying. However, Stefan felt that no matter what the difficulty was, Xia Ying would definitely overcome it. Because, in Stefan's ignorant heart, Xia Ying is extremely powerful. She is so cute, kind, and beautiful, she should be favored by fate. On the way back, Xia Ying was talking to Luo Xian on the phone. Luo Xian meant that she hoped that Yu Lingfeng and 11 Ju would celebrate the new year with them. Just like last year, anyway, according to Luo Xian, the relationship between Yu Lingfeng and Xia Ying is considered very stable. Although neither Xia Ying nor Yu Lingfeng directly told Luo Xian that they were together. But Luo Xian is not stupid, he has long seen something fishy. Moreover, Xia Ying is her daughter. After raising her daughter for so long, no one understands Xia Ying better than her. Xia Ying likes Yu Lingfeng very much, which can be seen from the way she looks at Yu Lingfeng. Before the new year, we entered the busy stage of preparing New Year's goods. Luo Xian took Xia Ying to purchase New Year's goods together. Yu Lingfeng and 11 Ju naturally followed. It was the first time that Zihu went out to buy New Year's goods, so he was very excited. He would go over and take a look at everything. Everything was new to him. Master, what is that? Sugar-coated horse. What is this, master? Rattle. Where's that one? Marshmallow. This, what is this particularly interesting thing? Yu Lingfeng glanced at 11 Ju coldly, it's for children. After Yu Lingfeng finished speaking, he took 11 Ju away to avoid embarrassment. He has already seen the strange looks from many children, with expressions that look like they are looking at weird things. Xia Ying smiled on the side, looked at the aggrieved 11 Ju, and said to Yu Lingfeng, 11 Ju is just a child. Yu Lingfeng just glanced at 11 Ju with a full face and replied, have you ever seen a child over 1.8 meters tall? Ha ha ha, poor Zihu. Xia Ying said, walked to the side and bought a bunch of candied haws on a stick, handed it to 11 Ju, and said, hey, 11 Ju, this is the candied haws on a stick. It's quite delicious. You can try it. 11 Ju looked at Yu Lingfeng tentatively. Yu Lingfeng's face was expressionless and indifferent, making it difficult for people to get close to him. 11 Ju didn't dare to answer, but Xia Ying said, don't worry, Yu Lingfeng won't talk about you. After saying that, Xia Ying turned around and looked at Yu Lingfeng, right. Yu Lingfeng saw Xia Ying's smiling face and didn't care what she said, he just nodded and said yeah. As soon as the word Yu Lingfeng was spoken, Zihu seemed to have received an imperial decree. He immediately took the candied haws in Xia Ying's hand, peeled off the candy wrapper and started eating. Thank you, Sakura, Sakura is the best, haha. 11 Ju ate deliciously. Xia Ying smiled, then walked up to Yu Lingfeng, raised her head and asked Yu Lingfeng, have you never eaten candied haws? Yu Lingfeng frowned slightly and was non-committal, but this expression said everything. It is true that he has never eaten candied haws. Would you like me to buy you a bunch to try? Yu Lingfeng shook his head without thinking. Tanghulu, sugar, sweet, he doesn't eat it. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 507. Chapter 507, Buy some clothes. Why don't you want to try it? It's delicious. Xia Ying is puzzled. Don't eat sweet things. Yu Lingfeng frowned even when he mentioned the word sweet, as if he was thinking of some painful memories and felt particularly disgusted. Why do you dislike sweet things so much? Xia Ying asked strangely. Yu Lingfeng almost never eats anything sweet. Even when he drinks coffee, he drinks the most bitter black coffee. Others don't like sweet food because of the sugar content. But for Yu Lingfeng, as long as the sweetness is perceptible with the tongue, he cannot accept it, not at all. That's really strange. Just do not like it? Yu Lingfeng's eyes were a little wandering, as if he was thinking of some unpleasant memories, and he said this. Oh well. Xia Ying curled her lips and didn't ask further. After all, Yu Lingfeng is very mysterious, and Xia Ying is already used to his specialness. By the way, Lingfeng, there is a very good store in front of you. Would you like to go there and buy some new clothes? Luo Xian suddenly turned around and said to Yu Lingfeng behind him. Yu Lingfeng has always been wearing dark clothes, which is completely inconsistent with his age. At his age, he should dress more cheerfully. Wearing a depressing color like black all year round, let alone yourself, it also affects the mood of others. Yu Lingfeng frowned and was about to say no, but Xia Ying on the side took his arm and walked happily towards Luo Xian. Okay, Mom, I have long thought that Yu Lingfeng should buy a few got new clothes. Yu Lingfeng moved her lips and looked down at Xia Ying. Really? Yes. Xia Ying nodded hurriedly. Yu Lingfeng, you should try more clothes of other styles and colors, otherwise you will waste a male model figure like you who is born with clothes. Yu Lingfeng frowned slightly, with a tangled expression on his face. But since Xia Ying said so, let's try it. Anyway, I just bought a few clothes, so it shouldn't be a big deal. 11 Ju suddenly stepped forward and looked at everyone with his big eyes. What about me? Luo Xian smiled. Of course we will buy them together. Ha, thank you Aunt Luo. Ju jumped up happily. Great, he can finally buy new clothes. Everyone walked towards the beautifully decorated brand clothing store. As soon as Luo Xian and the others entered, a sharp-eyed waiter recognized Mrs. Luo Xian. So he came to entertain them very warmly. What does Mrs. want? The sound of Mrs. Oh, look at the men's clothing in your store. Did you buy it for Mr. Xia? The waiter said with a smile. Mr. Xia also came over a few days ago and bought some women's clothes. You two are really in love. I guess they are all New Year's gifts for each other, right? The waiter's warm smile was particularly eye-catching to Luo Xian at the moment. Xia Chuanhai bought women's clothes, guessing that he had probably walked out. After all, the two have been separated for so long. He is alone and needs a woman to keep him company. Luo Xian thought so. The corner of her mouth was slightly bitter. Xia Ying saw that Luo Xian's expression was not right, so she quickly ended the topic. I bought it for him. Do you have any good ones that you can recommend? Please give me a monthly ticket and give me a reward. The results of the first order are very important. I hope the little cuties can make a full order for Xiao. Order all, click download in the book details page and select all. Draw 5 cuties in the comment area of this chapter to get 200 book coins. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 508. Chapter 508, Handsome in a Different Form. The waiter's eyes rose and fell on Yu Lingfeng. When Yu Lingfeng came in, she was already attracted by the strong aura exuding from him and his figure like a male model. Although she is wearing a mask, her exposed eyebrows are simply not too charming. This man is really a top-notch person. I don't know how amazing the face hidden under the mask will be. He just glanced at her, and she almost forgot what she was doing. Yu Lingfeng stood there, doing nothing, like a bottomless black hole, attracting attention from all directions. This gentleman is in good shape. You can try our new winter styles, these are selling well. Xia Ying stepped forward and took a look. They were all clothes suitable for Yu Lingfeng's age, and the colors were very nice. Xia Ying looked back at Yu Lingfeng and asked, Yu Lingfeng, come and see if there is anything you like. Yu Lingfeng stepped forward and instinctively rejected the brighter colors. Instead, he chose a relatively low-key black windbreaker and said calmly, this one. Xia Ying immediately darkened her face when she saw the color of the clothes Yu Lingfeng picked. No, Yu Lingfeng, other colors are fine, but you are not allowed to choose black. Yu Lingfeng's wardrobe is neatly dressed in black. Xia Ying sometimes doubted whether Yu Lingfeng could tell the difference between his almost identical clothes. Seriously, wouldn't Yu Lingfeng feel tired if she wears clothes of the same color every day? Yu Lingfeng frowned in embarrassment when he heard what Xia Ying said, but he had never worn any color other than black. For as long as he can remember, black has been the dominant color in his life. Yu Lingfeng didn't think there was anything wrong with such a calm and mysterious color. Yu Lingfeng, this one. Xia Ying's eyes suddenly lit up, and she handed Yu Lingfeng an indigo jacket. You will definitely look great wearing this. Yu Lingfeng glanced at the coat, frowned in disgust, and said, it's too bright. Xia Ying hummed, where's the light? Try it. It will definitely look good. Yu Lingfeng couldn't resist Xia Ying, and was finally pushed into the fitting room to try on. When Yu Lingfeng came out of the changing room wearing that indigo jacket, he immediately became the focus of the entire store. Yu Lingfeng glanced at everyone with an indifferent expression, and everyone looked at him with stars in their eyes. Yu Lingfeng frowned slightly, showing displeasure. This man is so handsome, no matter what he wears. When they saw Yu Lingfeng wearing this outfit, they felt like they were watching the models showing off their clothes on the catwalk during Fashion Week. And it's obvious that Yu Lingfeng is the kind of male model whose face is enough to charm people. Oh my god, that little brother is so handsome. I really want to know what the rest of his face looks like under the mask. He must be very handsome. I wonder, am I mistaken? My boyfriend just wore the same thing as him, why does it look so good on him? It's really annoying to compare people to each other. So handsome, so handsome, so handsome. Xia Ying's eyes lit up the moment she saw Yu Lingfeng. People like Yu Lingfeng usually don't dress up, but now they look cool in another way when they just change their clothes. It's really terrible. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 509. Chapter 509. Xia Chuanhai is seriously ill and hospitalized. Yu Lingfeng walked up to Xia Ying, moved her lips, and asked, how is it? Xia Ying nodded very vigorously and said, it looks good, it looks great. Yu Lingfeng looked at his new self in the mirror. He didn't think there was anything good about it. He actually liked his former self wearing black clothes better. "Waiter, wrap this up," Xia Ying said, then turned around and went to find clothes for Yu Lingfeng. "Yu Lingfeng, try this again." Although Yu Lingfeng was reluctant, he didn't refuse and still gave it a try. The result is naturally as stunning as ever. After buying all the things, everyone returned home. Xia Ying was a little tired and lay down on the sofa as soon as she got home. "Having been walking for a long time, I am really tired." Xia Ying took out her mobile phone and started browsing Weibo. Xia Ying opened Weibo and subconsciously glanced at the hot search list on Weibo. But this glance really shocked her. Number 1 on the hot search list, Xia Chuanhai is seriously ill and hospitalized. Xia Chuanhai is sick, or seriously ill. What is it? Xia Ying was stunned. It took her a long time to react. Then she ran towards Luo Xian in the study with her cell phone in hand. Yu Lingfeng saw Xia Ying's sudden series of actions, so he followed her behind silently. "Mom, look at this quickly." Xia Ying randomly clicked on a related article for Luo Xian to read. Luo Xian didn't understand why Xia Ying was in such a hurry, so she just looked up at her slowly. "What happened? Why do you look so anxious?" The next second, Xia Ying presented the report on the mobile phone screen to Luo Xian. Luo Xian was so frightened that her face turned pale. Xia Chuanhai was seriously ill and was hospitalized. And judging from the description above, it looks like he is about to die soon. Luo Xian didn't even think about it, and stood up to leave. Xia Ying followed Luo Xian. "Mom, do you want to go over and see him?" When Luo Xian heard Xia Ying's question, she paused, then adjusted the expression on her face, pretending to be calm, and said, "The outside world doesn't know about our family, Xiu is still gotta do it." Xia Ying heard this and followed Luo Xian, preparing to go out with her. Yu Lingfeng and 11 Ju naturally followed. Along the way, Luo Xian kept looking out the window without saying a word. Although she was expressionless on the surface, she gave people a state of indifference. However, only Luo Xian herself knew how turbulent her heart was at this moment. The words "critically ill," "life-threatening," and "may die" in the news reports have been swirling in Luo Xian's mind. Luo Xian has been silently enduring, not letting herself show any worry or sadness. But her hands were shaking uncontrollably, and Luo Xian had to hold them tightly to prevent Xia Ying and the others from seeing anything wrong. She has been separated from Xia Chuanhai for more than a year. Logically, they should have their own lives this year. Especially just now, the waiter in that store said that Xia Chuanhai also bought women's clothes from them, which shows that there is already another woman by his side. However, when she learned that Xia Chuanhai was suddenly seriously ill and was hospitalized, Luo Xian's first reaction was still worry and fear. She has completely forgotten everything that happened before. She only has one thought, which is that she hopes Xia Chuanhai can survive well. In any case, he is also Xia Ying's father. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 510. Chapter 510 Lymphoma. When Xia Ying and Luo Xian rushed to the door of the hospital, they were immediately surrounded by a group of media reporters. They also just learned the news, so they came here specially to follow up and report. As one of the 4 major families, the Xia family is now very optimistic about the development of the group and the stock market. Xia Chuanhai has concentrated on business work this year and promoted the entire Xia group, which is obvious to the outside world. Perhaps it is because he spends too much time and energy at work, thus endangering his life and health, that is why now there is such bad news that he is suddenly seriously ill and hospitalized. Moreover, it is said that Xia Chuanhai narrowly escaped death this time. Mrs. Xia, how is Mr. Xia's current physical condition? Why did he suddenly fall ill? The outside world is reporting that Mr. Chuan Xia has lymphoma. Is this true or false? Mr. Xia is seriously ill and is admitted to the hospital this time. Have you ever had similar symptoms before? A long list of questions hit Luo Xin like artillery fire. Luo Xin was already very anxious. Now she wanted to rush to the hospital as she had no time to pay attention to these gossiping media reporters. Therefore, with a straight face and no expression, Luo Xin rushed to the hospital with Xia Ying and the others without saying a word. Xia Ying saw beads of sweat on Luo Xin's face, and her lips were bitten white because of nervousness and worry. Although Xia Ying didn't say anything, she kept everything secret. It was obvious that from the moment Luo Xin learned that Xia Chuanhai was hospitalized, the feelings and emotions shown by Luo Xin were not as simple as a show at all. She just loved Xia Chuanhai deeply. No matter in the past or now, she could deceive others, but she could not deceive Xia Ying, let alone herself. However, when Luo Xin and Xia Ying arrived at the ward where Xia Chuanhai was located, they were told that they were not allowed to enter. The doctor said that the chairman needs to rest now and no outsiders are allowed to disturb him. Moreover, the chairman himself has made it clear that no one is allowed to go in to see him. The person who spoke was Xia Chuanhai's assistant. A group of bodyguards surrounded Xia Chuanhai's ward, and Luo Xin and the others couldn't get in at all. But, can't we all? Xia Ying noticed the sense of loss on Luo Xin's face, so she asked. Luo Xin has been worried about him since the beginning. Now that he is here, she is told that she cannot go in. Luo Xin is heartbroken at this moment. Yes. The assistant also seemed helpless and could only emphasize, the chairman is talking about everyone, that is to say, there are no exceptions. Okay. Luo Xin lowered her eyes, trying her best to conceal the sadness and loss in 11 Ju's heart, and left without looking back. Xia Ying hurriedly followed her. Mom, it's okay. Let's see him again in a few days. He will be fine. Luo Xin looked well on the outside, and the smile she showed was indeed extremely bitter. Luo Xin knew it without thinking too much about why Xia Chuanhai issued such an order not to allow anyone to visit. He just doesn't want them to come see him, so there are two situations. One way, Xia Chuanhai has no big problem, he just doesn't want to have any interaction with her anymore. He has completely let go of her. Or maybe Xia Chuanhai was actually very ill and gave such an order because he didn't want Luo Xin and Xia Ying to worry about him. Privately, Luo Xin still wanted to believe the first type. She didn't want to see anything happen to Xia Chuanhai. End of this chapter.